What is something you know but you're not supposed to know? This was in the 90s. Remember having a family computer. My little sister got caught looking at P and my dad installed a tracker, changed her password. The tracker caught a few P sites and my sister got in trouble for them. My sister was hanging out with me at the times the tracker said, and my dad was the only one who knew her password. My dad used my sister's computer account to watch P and then framed her for it. Dang, that's cold. My dad told me that my mom has embezzled a lot of money from the places she used to work. They both also did drugs. My dad claimed he did it for recreation and could stop anytime. Mom was different, and he said she had to have it. This explains her fits of rage growing up. Oh, asked dad how mom never got caught and he won't give any more details. My cousin has a half sister she doesn't know about. The sister is a stripper in Atlantic City with 3 kids. Everyone knows but her. Just found out from my mom. My boyfriend's mom used to service all the men at a local fire department, unmarried or married. Some of the men even got in trouble and were suspended. Your boyfriend's mom is a badge bunny. A couple things actually. Got my dad drunk and he basically told me I was his biggest disappointment and he wishes he could trade me for his previous son who died at age 2. He does not remember this statement. Also, I know he slept around on my mom. I helped my siblings clean out his car after he became disabled and we found a box of condoms with only 3 left and he and my mother hadn't slept in the same bed for almost 10 years, so we safely assumed what was going on. Everything is a disappointment compared to the limitless potential of an imaginary life. My dad had cancer. The family thought I didn't need to know that since I was in college. My mom had a child out of wedlock and gave him up for adoption. This was the early 70s. When I was 6 years old I had leukemia and it broke my family's heart, and they tried to hide it from me, but each night I heard my mother tearing up before she slept beside me. I didn't know what I had, but with all the doctors I thought this is the end. Me thinking I was doing the right thing, I zoned out so that when I die they will miss me less. But here I am in September, I will be 18. Glad to hear you're still around. A family member is HIV positive. Doesn't want rest of family to know. When he broke down and told my mom, I overheard. She has passed and he has no idea. I know. You might want to let him know that you know. Sounds like he could use the support. Only if you're going to be supportive. But I'm assuming you would because you haven't told everybody else yet. HR once sent me a list of wages for everyone in my department right up to the VP. It included my boss's boss, etc. At first glance, it looked harmless, but they had only filtered the list by job title so I wouldn't see anyone above me. I told my boss and I'm pretty sure the person who sent it just got to do Excel better next time. Talk. I swear people are freaking dumb in Excel. That not married to my dad, mother enjoys threesomes. She's not the most tech savvy person in the world and accidentally posted a threesome request publicly on Facebook. Just a night, my friend who I haven't seen in a long time invited me to get drinks after work, then cancelled because she was too tired. I found the photos a few minutes ago of her and some mutual friends out for drinks. So apparently I wasn't invited and she found a better option. She didn't realize I'd see the pictures. My mother-in-law got drunk once and told me that my sister-in-law has always been a real CNT, and that if she could go back she would have made my father-in-law wear a condom on the night they conceived her. Whoa, when a mother says that, you know that it's bad. My dad killed himself almost 20 years ago. At the time my mum told me it was because he was having gay affairs with people and he couldn't live in that sinful lifestyle anymore. Turns out she cheated on him, and that was what sent him over the edge. I only know this because I was finally able to read a copy of his note last year. Dang. I am sorry. I am surprised she didn't destroy the note. My sister has my dad's. I saw it once but never want to see it again. Almost 20 years here too. Thankfully without crap like this clouding it. My boss's salary. I was working in his office in the night as my desktop crashed. Way back in 2004. His salary slip was lying around on his table. Saw it and was astonished at the money he was making. Just say the goddamn number. That my uncle's son is not his son. His then wife was banging her cousin and boom, baby. To this day, my cousin doesn't know and treats his dad, who raised him, as if he were his own and had never said a word about it to anyone but me, like crap because of the lies his mother spread about him. I kind of want to tell him to do a DNA test so that he'll know and maybe, just maybe, realize his mother isn't the son she made herself out to be. You could be chaotic evil and give him a few home ancestry DNA kit for a gift. I might be a year older than I and everyone else have been made to believe. I was flipping through an old baby book of mine that I found when my family was moving and found an ultrasound dated in August the year before I was born, with my name written above it. My birthday is in September and the baby in the picture was very developed, so there's no possible way it's just an early ultrasound. On one hand, my mom is mentally ill and always had attachment issues with me growing up. I know she had issues getting pregnant and treated me like she had to protect me with her life when I was little. It would make sense that she would want me in the house with her for an extra year. I also developed really early, learned to read and write months before everyone else my age, and got my period when I was 10. Not super uncommon but still on the early side. On the other hand, this seems like an extremely difficult and illegal thing to do. There are other possible explanations. Maybe the ultrasound date was misprinted, or maybe my mom had a miscarriage. That would be another thing I wasn't supposed to know though. I was going to say sounds like she lost her pregnancy baby very soon before getting pregnant with you. The restaurant I worked at had some pretty solid sweet potato fries. They come frozen in a bag. Everyone thinks we make it in-house. Years of working in food service has taught me terms like made in-house, handmade, etc. are thrown around freely. I was accidentally given access to all salaries for a large hospital. Finding out some doctors made $80K and others $800K was pretty eye-opening. My supervisor is really close to getting fired. Upper management isn't supposed to talk about it, but they do. Probably because we'd all quit if we thought she was staying. She sucks. A lady at my work, who everyone hates, was caught stealing company money after literal years of suspicion. The news hasn't gone public at work yet, but I know she'll be fired soon. I'm a numbers guy who is good friends with HR people. For Christmas, my stepmom bought my dad a pretty cool custom sports jersey with the number 04. When my fiance asked her what the number stood for, her reply was to represent our family, my 2 daughters, him and myself, completely leaving me out of the equation. What a C. That my mom tried to have CPS take my daughter from me when she was born by claiming I used drugs while I was pregnant. I was 9 years clean. She tried again when I was diagnosed with cancer. You would be amazed to see what doctors actually put in your medical records. When I got cancer, I ended up with my full medical records when they were transferring them from one hospital to another. I guess it never occurred to me that there were written records that I had never gotten to see. They write some weird and specific stuff in there, like verbatim everything I had ever said to a doctor, including what type of pizza I'd had for dinner. I just recently found out that my youngest brother, 20 years, is not actually my dad's bio son. My dad has known that for 17 years. He's never told another soul because he loves him so much. He loved him more than he hated my mom. My parents were in court every other year or so because my mom wanted more money, or for him to see us less, or not see us at all. There were times when she kept us from him for years at a time, crushing his soul to the point where my stepmom would have to drag him out of the closet, where he cried for hours because he missed his kids. He continued to pay child support for 5 years after me and my other brother were over 19, and to this day continues to pay for his college education. Penn State. My father is a freaking son, and I wish he knew I know about this so I could tell him how much I admire and appreciate who he is as a man, and I can only hope to be half the parent he didn't have to be. Go tell him. Let him know you know and how much more you love him because of it. My boss at a place I used to work would go on road trips with a crew of product installers. They'd spend the night sharing a couple of hotel rooms. The boss would take pictures of his, all male, employees while they slept. He is unhappily married with 3 grown children. There is plenty of evidence that he is gay, but deep in the closet, we all wished he would just come out and make everyone's life easier. That my mother slept with several of the men in the neighborhood during the time my dad was very ill and literally dying. My dad has another kid in Thailand, I think. I had someone message me on social media in broken English with his name saying they were trying to reach their father. I was a freshman in high school and I panicked and never corresponded with them, and 8 years later I still feel strange about that. I have a copy of a private investigative report on criminal conduct that the local Don unsuccessfully sued for to use in a criminal complaint. As a result, the subject of the report is still practicing because he was acquitted. I legally can't do a thing with it even though I know he's still working with young people. Don't listen to the people in the comments before getting a lawyer's opinion. Just found out recently that my Gma, who I have taken care of for the last 7 years, doesn't want me to have a dime of the $100,000 life insurance policy she has, even though she would have been on the streets without me. Feels great. That when my mother was pregnant, teenage pregnancy, with me, she drank and did drugs because she never wanted to be pregnant with me and was planning on leaving my dad, which she did a year after she had me. She went to an abortion clinic but couldn't go through with it. She doesn't know I know and I will never tell her I know. I didn't find out until well into my adulthood and hold no hate for her. Regardless of what she did when she was young, she raised me the best she could and gave me and my older sibling everything she could and was a hard-working mom. That my mom and I make the same sounds when we climax. I really need to move out, and my parents really need to learn to close doors. My dad and I both sneeze the same and make small talk about the weather. Yours is more interesting though. I overheard my dad saying that he thinks I'm a failure. That really hurt. Even though I worked my butt off to get into an elite private school, volunteer, make honor roll, and I'm doing better than he ever did at my age. At my age, he was running from the cops, getting drunk, and never finished high school. He may be jealous you amounted to so much. Take what he says with a grain of salt. My boss is being pushed out of the company. I'm in line to take her spot. She fought hard for me to be on the team and the higher ups sat me down and told me to my face she was gonna try to fire me, which is absolutely not true. She has a kid in the hospital and another with OCD. They're firing her because she won't ever work overtime because she's gotta take care of them. I wanna tell her so she can lodge a case, but I also wanna keep my head down. Fuck all this. But I also wanna keep my head down. Sometimes the best thing is to not do what we want to do. Consequences may suck for you, but imagine the consequences for her if she is just fired. Then again, with a little information from a short comment, of course take what I say with a grain of salt. My dad has been growing some apparently fantastic weed for over 50 years now. That's how he made car payments when he was unemployed for a few years, even though he could have worked but didn't. He's got a lot of nice things that are above his employment level. Didn't register why until mom told us who used to be her supplier when she was in her hippie days. Last I checked, years ago, he had the trust of numerous private landowners and the keys to the gates. They let him build and maintain feed plots for deer and turkey, so he can have his own private hunting land and be out on his own. But I'm pretty sure I know how he pays and is paid now. Real country, this place. Fenced off gates to roads you have to go on foot through thick foliage to get around the gate that's blocking the only road in. Good 10 miles from the nearest police station. Some of those plots, as close as he is to the sheriff. I'm pretty sure he gets passes from the law for various reasons. My dad, this boring loner who's never been in trouble in his life. A real square who married a free love hippie. A weed outlaw. That's actually freaking awesome, emo. That my superior officer, who's a massive dong, is cheating on his wife of I think 15 years with the female patrol sergeant in our police department. I could literally ruin his life if I wanted to. Everyone basically hates him anyway, but still I haven't built up the nerve to face him. But if he's being a dong, I might tell him that. I know that'll shut him up for a bit. If you plan on doing anything with this information, do so through the correct channels. Personal confrontation is too dangerous with life-ending crap like this. When my dad died, the associate pastor of my mom's church spoke and talked about how devastating cancer is. That pastor used to attend a different church, but had to leave after she faked cancer for 2 years. Her husband left her and her daughter disowned her after they found out. My mom was the secretary at the church, so she knew and had already told me, and my dad's funeral was only like 2 years after that. I would have walked up to the podium and punched her in the face were it not disrespectful to my parents. My sister was trying to flirt with this guy at a bar but then lost him in the crowd. She went to the bar to have a drink and see if he'd come back. This other guy walked up and she chatted with him to have a reason to stay and look for the other guy. She shrugged and thought, he'll do I guess. They just got back from their honeymoon. Hopefully this has a happy ending and they're happy together. I read my mom's diary from 2002 when I was 9. Found out that she got an abortion when she was a teen. Didn't understand it at the time, but now I do. And I'm feeling kind of guilty for all the times I asked for a sibling. It's not your fault. You were just a kid. Every petty little secret my wife's family has. Those little things like, don't tell Anne, but Bob spent too much money on his new car. The secret gets spread around quickly but no one will talk about it openly. One of my family members killed someone because they robbed them. They got drunk and told me. Also I have a brother that lives in the next state over and my parent never even bothered to try to be there for them. Alcohol brings some pretty dark things to light. My dad takes pictures of women's asses in public. He thinks he's really good at hiding it but it's super obvious. Honestly catching him doing this has kinda soured our relationship. I never want to be anywhere with him without my mom because I know he might do it. I feel physically ill whenever I see it. I'm 60. My GF is 59. About 40 years ago she wrote a book that became a bestseller. The celebrity freaked her out. She changed her name, moved to a small town, ignored everyone from her past. She doesn't know I know about it. My grandparents ran a pedophile ring using my mom and her sisters, which is why my mom never talks about them and didn't let me meet them. That my husband was having an affair with his ex the whole time we have been together and he got her pregnant while I was pregnant. He has a freaking kid with a C. I don't know how to deal with it other than telling my daughter she has a half sister when she turns 18. I found out on my daughter's 4th birthday in October last year because his ex texted me and told me. My father had an affair on my mother when she was pregnant with my sister. She's 16 now and had a love child. I reached out to the family about 6 years ago cause I wanted to get to know them. Only to find out my little brother had drowned in the family pool when he was 6 years old. I'm a swimming instructor now. My dad's neighbor, a police officer and Marine, is currently deployed in Afghanistan. Her BF, also a police officer, likes men a lot. Went to a gay bar with my brother, who's gay, and guess who's there? Yup, neighbor's BF. Sloppy drunk, making out with a bunch of dudes. Okay, like 2 or 3. Then there's this biker guy that seems to stop over every other day. Rather large. Definitely looks like a stereotypical biker gang member. I'm like 90% sure that he goes over to frick the BF. It's never more than a half-hour stay and it only started happening the week after she deployed. Making out with a bunch of dudes. Okay, like 2 or 3. I mean, that is a bunch of dudes when you're straight and married. I accidentally found out that my dad isn't my biological father. This all happened 3ish years ago and I just turned 26 this Tuesday, 4/23. Well, a distant cousin I had just met at an anniversary party for the family really wanted to date me. When I kept telling her no and how freaking strange it was, she said, well, dad isn't even your real father, so we aren't even related. Sure enough, I asked a very close cousin and it was confirmed by them and I was sworn to not tell anyone. They told me. Also, I never realized but my original birth certificate definitely does not have a father signature or name. Apparently I'm oblivious. Met my real father on accident. Of course he lives in the same city as me. It was scary how similar our body language was. Haven't talked to him since that day. My parents still don't know that I know. I still don't have the full story and didn't go full novel mode because it's a lot to tell. There was always something off and I was treated differently than my younger siblings. The reason The Secret worked out so well is my father and mother's maiden name is the same thing. Plus when he entered my life I was still very young and he's been there ever since. TLDR. Cousin tried to bang me. Found out through her my dad isn't my biological father. Always knew I was treated differently. Birth certificate and closest family member confirmed it. They still don't know I know. You know? That my mum and dad love my nephew who lives with us more than me. How do I know that? I heard them talking in bed. Not a nephew, but he's my cousin. And yes, my mother loves him more than me, and quite frankly, I'm okay with it. I just wish she'd listen to me sometimes with as much attention as she listens to him. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.